I did want to dedicate an entire segment, though, to the Ravens. Because they, again, like I mentioned, they lost about as heartbreaking a way as you possibly could to a division rival, to the Cleveland Browns. This despite, listen, Baltimore is the one of, if not the hottest team in football right now, up there with Jacksonville and Minnesota. But listen, they go in this game. They're up 17-3. They're playing good football. They got a pick six on the first play of the game, essentially, against Deshaun Watson. They enter the fourth quarter. Actually, at one point, they scored on the fourth quarter on a Gus Edwards touchdown. 11 minutes left in the game, up 14 points, and they end up losing. They end up giving up 16 unanswered points, and the Browns walk it off on a field goal by Dustin Hopkins. So, first of all, and I'll talk about my Steelers a little later. Matter of fact, let me go and put my Steelers hat back on. Dak hat, I'll put you off to the side for a moment. The AFC North is about as difficult and brutal division as there is. But props to Cleveland, stuck with the running game. Deshaun Watson made some plays with his legs late. But for Baltimore, and they are undeniably the better story, the good news for the Ravens, they're still first in the division. They're second in the conference, so it's not skies falling. They didn't lose any major players due to injury. Odell Beckham looked as healthy as he's looked in years with the Ravens yesterday, so there's still positives to take from losses. Not moral victories, but positives to take. There's no question about that. Here's something that's a little alarming to me if I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, is the fact that if you look at since 2020, so this is a big sample size, 2021 to now middle of 2023, and this is the second time that they've done what I'm about to tell you. They've blown 10 double-digit leads, 10 since 2020, including 2 this year, one of them being against my Steelers, which I'm not mad about that at all, but blew a double-digit lead against my Steelers way back in week 5, I think it was, and then blew a double-digit fourth quarter lead against the Cleveland Browns this week, again, both divisional rivals. This is a little bit of a problem for Baltimore. It falls on Lamar Jackson, who threw a pick 6 in this game. Falls on John Harbaugh. Again, when we talk about teams being bad situationally, the Chargers are the epitome of this. We saw yesterday, at least defensively. When we talk about teams being bad situationally, that falls on the head coach. It does. It falls on the quarterback with throwing that pick 6 to tie the game for the Browns, or not tie the game, but cut it to a 1 point deficit. It falls on the defense. A defense for the Ravens, which coming in this week, I was just raving. This is the reason I had the Ravens as the best team in football. Number 1 in the NFL in scoring defense. And they give up 33. Now, 6 of those came on a pick 6, but okay, subtract the 6. That's still 27 points to a Deshaun Watson quarterback team. It's not good. It's not going to work. And that's an issue for Baltimore that I mentioned with the 49ers earlier, that they are at their best, the most dominant team, the best team in the NFL, at their best. But again, you're not always going to be at your best. You're not always going to give an A-plus performance on a week-to-week basis. It's the NFL. It's hard to win games. It's hard to give great performances. But I said, listen, trailing in the fourth quarter, they struggle. The Ravens are almost the opposite of that. Like when the Niners enter the fourth quarter and they've got a lead on you, forget about it. That they are going to strangle you to death. They are going to get that W. Come hell or high water, they're going to win. Ravens, you enter the fourth quarter and forget close. If the game's within reach, be honest with yourselves, Ravens fans, aren't you a little uncomfortable? You're kind of sitting the edge of your seats like, I don't feel great about this. I don't know if I love our chances here. That's where they're at. Again, 10 blown double-digit leads since 2020. That's a 3.5-year sample size now. So for Baltimore, that's something, and I talked about this last year. I remember at the beginning of last year, they blew like a 21-point lead to 2 in the Dolphins. And I remember saying, and that was their defense was not near near them what it is now. But listen, I still think Baltimore's a contender. I still think they're the best team in that division, even over Cleveland, my Steelers, and the Bengals. That said, that is something that, listen, Bengals fans are kind of down the dumps today. And listen, for good reason. They're last in the division. They lost a game that they probably should have won against Houston, even though the great C.J. Stroud was fantastic in that game. But games like this, if you're a Bengals fan, by the way, Bengals-Ravens, Thursday Night Football, that's as good as it gets. Okay, Thursday Night Football, we finally get a great game. That's going to be a fun one. But if you're a Bengals fan, you're sitting back and saying, okay, guys, if we beat Baltimore, I mean, we're basically, what was it, a game and a half back? And given how bad they are in the fourth quarter, we have questions about Lamar's ability to stay healthy. We can get back in this. For the record, Steelers Nation, I'll sort of elaborate on this. We may actually have a shot at the division. If you look at our upcoming schedule, but that was That's a game you can't lose if you're Baltimore. I get it's a division rival. I get how great the Browns defense is and how great Myles Garrett is. He was spectacular yesterday. But that's a game up 14 in the fourth quarter with 11 minutes to go. You can't lose that game. And that falls on the defense, it falls on the quarterback, and it falls on the head coach. There's nobody that is free of blame here. Poor execution, poor decision making, and it comes down to everybody involved. So again, Baltimore second in the conference to Kansas City today. So it's not the sky isn't falling if you're a Ravens fan, but that is, given the trend in the recent years, not just the trend, kind of the reality for the Ravens in recent years, that's a bit concerning. It is. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.